All righty, welcome, folks. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2024. Income Navigator live trading session for today. A little later than normal here. We'll keep it short, but we'll run through a bunch of things today with you. And we got a short week coming up next week with Thanksgiving here in the United States. We'll still be around Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, probably Friday of next week as well. That want me to do something training wise. So I got some course stuff coming out ready to go for you guys. So that will be cool stuff coming out. So I want to touch base on a handful of things. Again, if you have questions for me, you can pop them into chat with me. Let me know what your questions are, and I'm more than happy to integrate that into today. It's really about you and what questions you may have. Subject matter wise, though, I want to cover a little bit about what we're doing in all of the accounts today. So I'm going to cover the main trading account here first, then we'll talk about the lazy trader account, what we did in there, and then we're going to talk about small account stuff as well today, and cover a little bit more about the QQQ trade because I know some questions on that. It's a little bit bigger size than normal. It would be a problem to take assignments, so I'll cover all of that with you in here, and I'll give you a little bit of the why behind some of those things. So let's get going with you here. So if you have, again, some questions, we can go through it. If not, I want to touch base on uh, some of the trades. So we're going to use a little bit of TradingView here today. So I'll use TradingView just because I have some additional tools that I want to run into on this to come up with some trade ideas. We are still sitting here in the Income Navigator account. I'm sitting right at, well, it's 51%. Let me margin before I take off uh, my bill percentage. So what are we at? Well, before we did close a naked put today, which freed up a boatload because doing these 112Cs that I'm doing, Igor doing a little bit of version of as well. These 112Cs that we're doing, they take up a little bit more buying power, obviously, because it's a shorter DTE trade. Again, Igor looking at more of the 30-day. I'm probably closer to the 45-day, maybe 60, but I think 45 to me is really the sweet spot of it. 60 DTE on these 112 calendar trades on the naked puts. 60 DTE gives you the best chance of success overall. So back testing wise, trading a 60 DTE, roughly like 7, 8 delta, 9 delta put. The biggest success rates are at 60 days, 45 being not as good, but pretty good. And then 30 days for me, not quite as good. Just not enough time to recover and you've got a lot more gamma risk in there. And I know Igor went through some stuff yesterday on potentially rolling and expirations as well, which is all good. I think when you have fewer naked puts on, you have more options, in my opinion, to do this. And since that August 5th Volmageddon type thing, we've been looking at ways to reduce, numbers, quantity, size, overall vega. And one of the easiest ways that I've been talking about doing that was really just reduce your numbers. You can move to a 111, which we moved to temporarily on there. You could also do the 112 calendar, or you can simply stick with the 112s the way they have been. One thing I want to show you that I found pretty doggone interesting is if you look at my spreadsheet's available for you. You guys can see all my wins, all my losses, all of my trades, but I don't think I'll make it by the end of December, but it is possible. I have an outside chance that my 112 trades will end the year potentially positive or flat on the year. Okay. So I wanted to point that out that while I did lose some in August, we have made between January and July losses in August and then gains in September, October. Now we have a gain in November on the books. I'm only down a little bit on these and potentially have three more to close from the 112 or the 112C trades. I don't know that we'll make it. We'll probably be short by about $5,000, but I will be down a total of $5,000 on 112 trades for the year. For me, the big loss came with the 112 XL trades, which I had on top of the 112s. I'm still regretting that decision to experiment live with some trades as opposed to tweaking through them. I got caught at the wrong time on those, but good good opportunity to learn and really improved trading overall. So since then, it's been good stuff. Like where we are. So I wanted to point that out. But if you guys can certainly see every single trade that I have, every win, every loss, where things went good, where things went bad. But overall, for the year, be very close. On the long-term 112/112Cs or 111s, long-term 111s, I will be very close to break even at the end of this year. So I thought that was pretty interesting to take a look at. So took some losses. We're working back through those. We had a great year heading up to that. I think we've optimized what we're doing. So overall, good stuff. I just want to bring those up. We'll cover those more in depth with you, but really just sticking with the strategies that I know works, and that Igor and I continue to help evolve with you guys. All right, so let's just take a run through, and again, I'm going to use some trading view charts here just to get a sense of where we are, and overall good stuff here on the S&P, on S&P futures. Came down, bounced right off the 50-day a couple weeks ago, ran up, pulled back down to the 21, bounced nicely off of that the last 4 sessions with a pretty good update today. So up 35 points on ES, 40 points on ES, depending on which futures contract we're looking at. So overall, still pretty bullish. Things look bullish longer term. Things look pretty bullish on the short term, especially. Here, can we, run up, hit new highs? I think that is likely before the end of the year. So I like where we are, bullish on ES. I think you can continue to put trades on. Igor's been doing some broken wing butterflies. Certainly those will take advantage if we continue to stay neutral to bullish. We've been doing the 112C trades. Again, me around 45 days, Igor around 30 days, as well as some other trades. I think Igor, I don't know when the last time he put on, and Igor, I know you're on here, but I know the last he put on one of the 112W trades, which again, it's a bullish environment here on the daily chart, and I think that bodes well for those types of trades. And if you're willing to take assignment or roll or just take the profits, then you can certainly look at these 30-day trades. You could also even start to take a look at, if you want to use the MES, you want to use ES too. I think the covered strangle trade that we were doing either early on this year, we did some of it last year, where I sell around 12 delta 30 days out, and I also sell around 8 delta 30 days out. So 2 naked puts. The 12 delta naked put technically for me represents a buying the stock and selling a call. So selling a naked put is the same thing as buying a stock and selling the naked call on the exact price. So that's what that 12 delta represents. So I'm buying the stock and selling a naked call at that 12 delta. And then I'm also selling a naked put around 6 delta. We can show you what that looks like and go through that trade today. But right now, with the way things look bullish-wise, I don't think it's a bad trade. Technically, it's a covered strangle, even though we're using 2 puts, but one of those naked puts technically is the buying of the stock and the writing of the call, which is essentially what a naked put is. Anyway, if that's confusing, we'll go through it. But I think that trade, I also think in here on ES that Jade Lizards are not a bad trade. So 112 trade, really like. Jade Lizard also not a bad trade in here. We can run through some of those. So I'll make some notes to take a look at a covered strangle trade and potentially a Jade Lizard trade as well. And I think ES shapes up good for those. Taking a look at oil, I think oil also looks pretty interesting in here. We were in an overall downtrend. And this is no surprise to anybody on the downtrend line. Here on the weekly, but I can extend this thing out. Okay. So we've definitely got some support down in this area as well, and I'll draw some support. Okay, so decent support down in here, I think right around that 67-ish mark. I've been pointing this out for a while. We've tapped on it now 4 times, decent bounce. Today, good up day, breaking above the 21. We've hit actually the anchored VWAP exactly from uh, this low back in here, which I don't know that we need to keep that one on anymore. We can actually move this anchored VWAP trade as well, but we hit that exact number in here. And I think you could also look to add, bear with me here as I move this around. Okay. If we look at the anchored VWAP from this high, it's just above us here, right at the 50-day moving average, which is close to where we hit today. So overall, I think good stuff on oil. I think we can look at potential trades in oil. Yeah, time merchant. Yeah, 75-point reversal on ES today. Yeah, amazing reversal today on ES. It's the if you look at the last 3 days here, all reversal days. I mean, the bears tried to sell off hard on Tuesday, didn't work. Tried to do it again yesterday, didn't work. Tried to do it again, didn't work. Uh, so all 3 days this week, pretty major reversal days. I think it bodes nicely for the markets, I think, continuing to move higher. So again, I'm bullish on ES. I think there's nice bullish trades that we can get on, keep adding trades in here. And I think oil also looks decent to put on some trades. I think we're in pretty good shape. We did add a strangle. That strangle's up 11% now in 3 days. So strangle exactly what we wanted, and we're going to run into the 50 moving average here as well as this anchored VWAP on the upside, somewhere around the 70 mark. So I think right around 70 and a half, 70.71. So we're about maybe 1 point away from those. I think there's some resistance there, but can oil keep going higher? It can. I just think it'll stay in this range. Gold, I think we have gold trade opportunities out here. I think on the weekly chart on the right-hand side here, this was a uh, really nice pullback. Let me extend this line out. And if we look at this previous pivot point over here, we came down, we touched right on it. I can extend it out a little bit more here. I don't know why it keeps moving the whole chart, but let's extend this thing here. So we had a nice bounce right off the support level here and a pretty good 4-day move higher on gold. I don't think we've missed the move necessarily. Maybe it settles back for a day or so, but you're breaking the 21-day moving average. You've got RSI flying higher. You've got MACD running higher. You've got the stochastic momentum running higher. None of these are overbought. So I think gold now, even though a pretty good bearish engulfing last week, pretty good reversal this week off of that move here in gold. I think gold could possibly be resuming its uptrend here. I think gold sets itself up for a positive trade in here. I think if you go below this support level here, which is right around the 25.65 level, I think there's opportunities here to get into gold. So I like gold. Bonds, let's talk about bonds for a minute. Bonds not really doing a whole lot of anything down here. Holding on to this level. Let's see if we can get a better sense of uh, what we got going on bonds. Take some of these pieces off. This has been a nice and just a nice consolidation area here. Where is my? It's drawing tools. There's my rectangle. Couldn't get my rectangle. If we look at this area right in here. Okay. That's a pretty good basing out level. So we've been in this range for now for 4 straight weeks. Uh, I like where we are. MACD seems to be improving off of these levels. RSI's is kind of flat, but it's been lower and trying to move its way a little bit higher. Stochastic momentum trying to move its way higher. And finally, on the weekly here, we've gotten into this overbought territory on both, the MACD, the RSI, and the stochastic momentum. So probably another week in, is if we hold these levels, we'll continue to add uh, trades on the bond side. Let's see, what was that? But I do like the TLT, and we've got several trades going in TLT. And I've got the leap call going, and we've been writing covered calls on those. We've been selling in the Lazy Trader account. We've been selling TLT for months. So we've been selling TLT for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. If we get assigned, then I will write covered calls. And if we get assigned on TLT, we also get the dividend. So we have a dividend on TLT uh, as well. So TLT, what is the dividend anyway? I don't even know what the distribution is um, on that. If I can find it, I will. But and then even TMF, we have the distribution on that. So Igor, I think, made comment about the triple income play, but overall, I like it in here. We've been selling TLT. We've been writing covered calls against all of our bond positions. So we've been writing calls against them, generating cash. I like where we are on this. ZN, David, pretty much the exact same thing. I think the shorter end of the stick is the exact same looking setup. You're really in this zone, okay, that you've been in now for 4 solid weeks. So you could trade ZB. I think you could trade ZN. I think a great way to play it is TLT because you can also get a dividend. But I think selling naked puts here is good. And I think 112 trades and bonds are good. And I think you can peg these. I'm going to make this a little bit better here. I think you can peg this, 107 level back here, and even this at what 105. But I think you could even look at 107 to 105 for your naked puts and put on some 112 trades. I think this is a good opportunity, in my opinion. Time Merchant, same thing. Looking at 112 trades and bonds. So I think these are all good opportunities. So I think gold's a good opportunity. Oil looks like a good opportunity. ZB or ZN, I don't care which one you want to go with. They look pretty much identical uh, for me. If we're looking at copper, I wanted to hold off on this the other day. So I talked about copper and I said, wait. Okay? I wanted to see, if it would continue to move higher and base out a little bit more. It's getting there, but a pretty good down session today on copper. I'm waiting for this weekly chart on copper. Again, I haven't updated trading view in a while, but um, I think you've got to take a look at. Let's get rid of this thing. I think you've got to take a look at copper soon, but I'm not there yet. I really want to see us get into a little bit more of an overbought and start to reverse on the weekly. You're starting to see some of that happening on the daily. I think there's no reason to rush into copper yet. Gold, I think you can go now. Copper, I think you got to wait. Personally, I'm waiting a bit. If we're looking at silver, I think this is an interesting opportunity in here. You can see that we've got a decent uptrend running on silver that we bounced off of that uptrend. So we've hit it twice now. Pretty good bounce off of that. It's not the same as gold, where, again, I'm trying to be quicker on this because I want to get into trades. Gold's already breaking the 21 EMA. Silver is not there yet. Decent down day yesterday, kind of an indecision day today. but momentum seems to be positive. So I do like silver. I think it's a tradable opportunity here. And also, if you look at this previous pivot level um, back in here, you might find some potential areas of support. So if we go back to this previous, okay, see if we can do it the best we can. This previous pivot high, this was a resistance level. Okay. We also hit it on resistance. Then we took off. We came down, hit it, took off, came down, basically hit it again, came down, hit it again, and bounced off. So this has become a pretty solid level, in my opinion, in silver, right around this 30 level. So I think you can play silver above 30 here, put credit spreads or something below 30. And silver is an opportunity, I think, in here. NASDAQ looks kind of mixed to me. It's not the same strength, even though we're up for these couple days in a row here. I don't love it as much as I like the S&P, but still not too bad. But it seems to be just running a little bit out of momentum, sideways trending in here. RTY, we're in this thing. I like where we are. Let me extend this thing out. Boom. Okay. Previous resistance level we can see here. I'm going to extend these. Previous resistance level, boom, hit it, basically hit it, okay, and then came back down and tagged it here. So right in this area here, I think looks interesting for RTY. We are already in a trade. We're up 44% now in 2 days on this RTY trade, but I really like it here. I think you can place your, if you want to do a put credit spread or puts, I think you, as long as you get below this line, which is right around the 22.85, anything down here, we've got several anchored VWAPs down here. In fact, I'm going to get rid of this one. I don't think it's valid anymore. But this anchored VWAP well below, I think there's opportunities here for RTY to continue. It'll be volatile to move itself around, but I like the momentum. MACD, RSI, both rising on this thing. I like it. So I think you could be looking at RTY for trade ideas here now. And then let's hit the 6A. So there was some people talking about doing 6A, 6E, the anchor VWAPs out. In fact, I'm going to put one on up in here just to see, just so we can track it. But a lot of resistance overhead. We're down in here on the Aussie dollar. I think you've got it set up decently for a strangle. So on 6A, I think you've got a strangle opportunity. I think you have a jade lizard opportunity, and I think you have a 112 opportunity on 6A down at this level. Doesn't have a ton of support necessarily down here. It's kind of funky in this area, nothing specific. Probably could look at this on a volume profile and see where kind of the volume shelf is down here. So if we're finding some support on that, I don't have that pulled up. I might be able to grab that. But I don't think it's a bad strangle opportunity. I don't think it's a bad 112. I also don't think it's a bad put credit spread. I also don't think down here that it's a bad jade lizard opportunity as well, which gives you, if you want to sell something down below, great. You have no risk to the upside on either the 112 or the jade lizard. So either one of those will work. The jade lizard gives you some benefits of a strangle because you're really in the strangle range with it's a strangle with no risk to the upside. That might be a good opportunity there. 6E is a little more sketchy to me. I don't like 6E as much. It's hitting new recent lows today. It's heading lower. Now it is oversold, but I don't like everything's pointing lower. We're at least on 6A. We're starting to see, RSI reversing a little bit on the weekly, and you can see the daily MACD, RSI, and the stochastic momentum all reversed and moving higher on 6A, but on 6E, all of those things are still heading lower. So I don't like it here. I don't like the euro as much as I do like the Aussie dollar. All right, so there's enough of that stuff to take a quick look at. From the future standpoint, I'm only going to touch base on a few things here today. So Google, big hit today. We are in Google, but I'm okay with it. I like Google still. Now, the Department of Justice came out and they want to force, from an trust standpoint or an anti-monopoly standpoint, they want Google to spin off Chrome, the browser. They think because Google has contracts with Apple and others, Samsung, they've got a monopoly on the browser, and they want to give Bing and I don't know what's the other crappy one. There's another one out there that people are using. Was it DuckDuckGo or something? I don't know. But uh, Big hit today, down 10 points, which is great. If you like Google and you think Google, from a fundamental standpoint, is still a solid company, and you think that this may or may not happen, we're in it. I'm going to stay in it. I sold the 40 naked put, which is all the way down here at the 3 ATR on the weekly. I mean, it's an immense distance down, way past the Bollinger Bands on the weekly. I would be happy to take assignment and own it at 140. Uh, I don't think that spinning something off necessarily is the worst thing in the world. Uh, I don't think it's great, but we'll see what happens on Google. But I'm going to stick in there with the trade that I have in the Lazy Trader account. And then we did put on a trade on NVIDIA today. So I did sell puts on NVIDIA. In fact, I sold what did I sell today? The 110s. I mean, I'm kind of chicken on these. I went down here to kind of a support level down here about 110. You can't even see it on this weekly chart here. But that's 110 is the 200-day moving average. So I sold puts at the 200-day moving average. I got a pretty good deal on those puts in the Lazy Trader account. So we did sell naked puts. So now that earnings are over, this thing really didn't do a whole lot with earnings. Earnings were fantastic. Okay. And guidance was really good, and this thing hasn't moved a ton. I mean, there was a lot built into this name. I think NVIDIA continues to go higher. I'm using this as an opportunity. Do I think it's going to get to 110? Probably not. But I'm going to keep working my way through some of these lower levels. If I looked at that trade in NVIDIA today, I get 42% return in 90 days. Okay? So if these expire worthless, it's a 42% return in 90 days on that trade. Okay, I will take that all day, every day. Fantastic thing. Um, Igor, Igor short the 130s on NVIDIA, I assume. So Igor short the 130s on NVIDIA, looking for assignment as well. So I think it's a great opportunity to get in here on NVIDIA. So nice little bit of kind of a pullback today. This thing's just kind of meandering sideways. Earnings are great. Demand is great. Everything is great about NVIDIA. Uh, I think if you wanted assignment, you can be more aggressive than me. I'm being chicken down at 110, but I'm okay with making 40% in 3 months. So I'll take my 40% in 3 months. Igor's looking at the 130s, looking potentially for assignment. Uh, I'd even probably go with maybe these 125s here right on the anchored VWAP and the bottom of the Bollinger Band. I think that's an opportunity. I'd like to see this thing slide down a bit to the bottom of the Bollinger Band, around 135-ish, but Igor will be picking them up at the bottom of the Bollinger Band around 130-ish. So I think that's a good opportunity there. So I like NVIDIA where we are. I'd like to see Tesla calm down a bit. It has moved sideways. I'd like to see it chill out a bit more, and I'd like to get some opportunity into Tesla. And then Amazon is the other one. It's down nicely today. I love this pullback in Amazon. Get rid of some of these things on you, but we can actually extend this up a bit. Taking a look at it, we are close. Okay. If we look at this lower hit here and close around here, and almost to the bottom. So today we're right at this trend line, um, going back to August of last year, or August of this year. So August of this year, we're right on this trend line in here. Good pullback. Amazon is giving you an opportunity. Bezos sold, so he's no longer a selling threat at 200, which helped us break through the 200. And now his ex-wife sold 11% of her position in Amazon. So Bezos and his ex-wife are now getting out of this. So there's a lot less overhead selling potentially here. So I think Amazon sets itself up. Let's let it get down a little bit further here, and then I think I want to get in on Amazon. I'd also like to see Palantir drop a bit more. I think Palantir's heading back into the mid 50s for sure. I'm not willing to necessarily buy puts on this, but I would consider buying puts on Palantir over the next couple months. I think this thing is way overdone, way overpriced. It's at a 270 PE. It's way too high. I think the value of this, the actual book value of this thing is down probably in the 30s. Okay. I don't know that it'll get there with the growth rate expectations, but I certainly think you're going to have a chance at this thing into the 50s if we can get the pullback into the 50s on Palantir. I'm going to probably start selling some stuff in the 40s on Palantir. Can you do it now? I don't know, but I don't want to jump in. I need this thing to just chill out. But I do like bonds. I like TLT. I think there's opportunities here. In that Palantir's got an IV of 47. If you wanted to go out about 180 days and even sell the 40s there, you could take in about 191 bucks in a PM account using 674 bucks. So 28% in 6 months. So 28% in 6 months if you sold the 40 naked puts on Palantir. So it's not a bad trade opportunity. I'd consider it, but I think Palantir still falls, so I think I can get a better deal sooner than later, and I don't want to sell it while things are falling. I think this thing continues to fall. All right, that's enough on trades. Let's on trade ideas. Let's look at the main trading account here today. So I want to get through a couple of these things in the next half hour. And again, if you guys have questions on anything, let's look at it. But we have opportunities here. I'm pretty good shape on buying power. As I mentioned, I looked at my buying power just before we started here. And I have, when you take Bill out of the equation, my buying power is 41% used. So I don't have to get myself to 50 today, but I have plenty of powder available. So what do we want to do? What trades do we have out there? I'm in oil already. We've got a 112 trade here, which is at 103% winner now. So that thing's in great shape. Nothing to do on this one. I'm not taking those naked puts off yet. They are at 83%. I could take them off. I could close the whole thing for over 100% winner right now. And maybe I still will. Let's just see. Oil bounces up or two for the next day or so. This put credit spread is just hitting 50% today. Technically, this is 20 days in. We could look to close this position out today. Boom. All right. So we just took that trade and knocked it out. So that put credit spread we put on, we just took that thing off for a winner. I have this strangle that's here. This is up 10% now in just 3 days. Nothing to do, but that freed up some more BP. Booked a winner on it. Let's take a quick look on this if we can. I'm just going to share how I'm accounting for it here, but let's find that CL put spread. I believe this was the 56, 53. Yeah, so that was this one. So we booked that, done. Whoa, not sure why that did that. Uh, all right, so we closed this at 4 cents today, 11:21. So that was a 50% winner in 20 days. We made 320 bucks. Not a huge gain, but we'll take. Is that right? Yeah. So we'll take it and we'll move on. Freed up some room to keep moving forward. So we have an opportunity here to jump in to a new trade um, on oil. So I do like oil. I think another trade here is an opportunity. Uh, Maybe another 112 trade potentially in oil. So if we look at something around 55 days in here, looking at maybe, let's look at the 64, 63, and let's go run the 55-ish and see if this sets up decently for a trade. All right, so here you go on this particular trade. We would take in 390 bucks on 7,500. The BP on these are not as great as they used to be. It looks like 5% return in 55 days. So taking in 390 bucks on 75.38 is 5%. So 5% in just under 60 days, which is not a bad trade. If we drop in here, we make a little bit more money. So how can we add a little juice? We could potentially move this 55 up to maybe 55 and a half. Where's the open interest on this thing? We could also even move it up potentially to 56. So if we move it to 56, now we're generating $490 on 83.73. So now it's almost 6% trade. If we can stay above 56, and when we looked at oil earlier, the recent low was 66. I think it's found a bit of a base here in the 60s. I think it looks fairly positive. So I like this trade um, here on oil. Um, let's put this on. See if we get filled on this trade in oil. So want to get another 112 trade on in oil. We'll let that thing just work. ES, there's nothing to do here. Most everything here is hedges. We do have a naked put on a new 112C. We put this thing on at 46 days to expiration. It's up 7%, nothing to do. Everything else are just put debit spreads and old 111 trades here. Here's that calendar FB trade. That thing's fine. We've got another naked put here. This thing's up 13% in 2 weeks. This was a little bit longer one. This was done about 57 DTE. I like the 45 best, 45 to 50 best. And then I'm also doing the 120-day naked puts. That thing is down 200 bucks right now. So that's just got a while to work. Nothing to do on ES there. All put debit spread, put debit spread, put debit spreads. These are all working. We're sitting here on a vol hedge. It's not doing anything. It's down a bit right now on this move lower. Nothing to do on that. And then put debit spread, put debit spread, put debit spread. These are old XL112 and an old long-term 111 trades. So in a couple of weeks, these will be off and we'll be basically fully utilizing the new 112 calendar trade. But I only have now two long, or I'm sorry, two short puts. So I have two short put tranches of the calendar, and there is still an old, where is it? There's still an old long-term 111 here. This thing's sitting at 72%. There's just no reason to take it off now. It's been working. I'm just going to wait till this thing hits 90. We'll take that off, and then we'll be a lot cleaner in what we have. But we have two naked put tranches, and we're sitting on one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. We have eight put debit spreads working right now. They're not all 100 wides, but we have four of those eight are 100 wide put debit spreads, and the other four are 50s. The four that are 50s will drop off first. So I like where we are. I think we're in good shape on that. We only really have the two tranches of naked puts to deal with. So we've only got six total naked puts, and we're sitting on eight put debit spreads. Uh, I'm sorry, we have 12 total naked puts, two tranches of six. So that's really pretty much it um, on ES. All right, let's keep going. This thing might need to be moved to 48. See if we get filled on that oil trade. On RTY here, we're almost a 50% winner on this thing. Generate almost $1,000 in cash in 2 days. I'm going to let this thing just work. Nothing to do there on RTY. But I mean, could you take it off? Yeah. I mean, can you really beat 44% in 2 days and make $900 in 2 days? Probably could just take this thing off, book the gains, and be done with it. It was a very short-term trade. We did it at 30 days. Um, it's hard to say that you shouldn't take this off if you make 44% in 2 days. So, you know what? Let's just close it. Knowing RTY, this thing will take 6 years to close, but we're going to put in a closing order for this RTY. I mean, let's take 44% in 2 days. I think that makes the most sense. I hope if you guys think that as well as I do. And then bonds. We're sitting down here in bonds. We're fine. We've got naked puts here. They're down just a bit. Um, They've got 36 days. It's at the 114 level. We're sitting at 116 and change on bonds. They've been in that range. If they can stay in this 115, 116 range, these will work out just fine. We'll see. And we have these two that are rolled. We'll wait and see what happens with those. And in the meantime, we got naked calls here that are just for 3 days old. They're down a couple $100, but they're totally fine. And then we've got naked calls here that are up 46%. Um, so I'll let these go longer. I'm not going to close them at 50. There's no reason to take these off. We're nowhere near 124. I'll let those run. And then we also put a call credit spread on. That thing's up 5% in 3 days. We'll take the call credit spread. So we have plenty of naked calls on this. And then in TLT, we are sitting on a leap call, basically a poor man's covered call here. So we are sitting on these uh, these leaps. We have 211 days, so there's 7 more months on these things. So we have 7 months for it to get back to 97 or so. And in the meantime, we just keep writing covered calls. We just closed one today for 90% winner. And then we put this new one back on today a little bit ago. This is up $10. So we'll just keep doing the, poor man covered call play on TLT. Hopefully that makes sense for you guys. And I want to get a new trade on. We looked at a bunch of things. Let's look at the Aussie dollar. There's a couple things we could be doing 112s. We could do. I looked at jade lizards. In fact, the jade lizard I looked at was at 78 DTE. I looked at selling the zero point 0.6, which is about a 6 delta. I'm not really relying on delta. I'm looking at dollar amount here. And then the 63,625, I believe. So this would be the jade lizard that I would look at here if we wanted to put something on. let's look at how this thing shapes up on this Jade Lizard. Okay, not a ton. It's got no risk to the upside now. The price has moved on this, so there's no risk to the upside. If we drop at all into this range, we make 500 bucks. I would like to have some gain to the upside, but we can look at moving this around. It's not the best setup uh, for it. Maybe a 111 would be a better setup. So if we look at something like this, take a look at this. So here's a setup on a 112 in 6A right now. Now, one thing I don't love about 112s here is there's an extra leg, and when I go to sell this thing, my fees are a little bit higher. So it's not the worst. I mean, for this one tranche, which I'm going to do more, it's going to cost me about 18 bucks to make $110. So it's a pretty good amount. I mean, I'm still making good money on it, but you just have to be at least be aware if you're doing these 112s on 6A, you're paying decent amount of commissions and fees on the Aussie dollar here. But with this tranche, you make $110 using 683 bucks. So you're making 16% on this trade in the tail, 16% in 78 days, okay? Which is less than 3 months. So it's like 2.5 months. 16% is not a bad trade. And if we drop it all, we can make some in here. So I actually do like this trade, despite the cost, which there's a cost to everything. The recent lows on 6A uh, are about 0.64. And still, if we got back to those, we still wouldn't be necessarily in the trap. But I like this trade. Let's take a look at what if we do something like this. So I would make potentially $1,100, but it is going to cost me on 1,100 bucks, it's going to cost me 180 bucks roughly in commission. So 180 out of 1,100, I'm still going to make $900. $900 on this trade on 6,836 bucks in margin is still 13% in 2.5 months. I'd take 13% in 4 months. So I think this is a good opportunity trade. I don't know if we can get filled, but we'll send it in and we'll see what happens. I'm wondering if we'll be able to get filled on that on 6A. And then the only other one that I thought was interesting was, well, there's two, but I think gold here was interesting on this move up in gold. And again, these are just spec trades, just keeping small spec trades going to keep just generating some cash. On gold, we would look at probably something around here, about 30 days out. And ideally, I would probably do like a put credit spread. That support level that we identified was about 25.65. So I'd want to be slightly below that. So if we looked at like the 25.55 or so, this is what we would see if we did that. So 25.55 is that support level. Yeah, time merchant pair trading. Gold and silver might be interesting as well. Let's just take a quick look at a put credit spread here. This puts me below the recent support level on gold. Here, it's not bad. I'd like to see gold just chill out a tad, but I don't really mind it here. I'm gonna do, let's see, 25.50, 25.40, 100 bucks using 400, 25% return on this trade. I'm going to do a smaller trade in here. We're just going to do 500 bucks. Okay, this is a 25% trade in gold over 30 days. Let's see if we can pick up some cash. If it gets filled, it gets filled. Don't know. All right, so there's where we are. Let's quickly hit before we run out of time. I've only got like 8 more minutes here, so let's blast through a couple other things on it. Not much to do in the lazy trader account. This thing's in great shape. Um, Taking a good hit on MicroStrategy today. This thing's dropped 56, which is perfect. We think this thing's overdone. Yeah, it's costing us a bit here, but I'm not too worried about this. We've got strikes that are way, way, way here. I'm good with this thing around 200. I believe MicroStrategy is overdone. The IV rank is 130. It's telling you that it's overdone. It's got a huge pullback today, which I think is definitely warranted. I think this thing needs to drop back. If we look at the chart, there is a previous resistance level right around 182 or so on this thing. I could see us pulling back to that 200 range, which is why I sold this 200. I'm okay taking assignment on it, only two contracts at 200, and then I have stuff way under that 180, 95, 165. So MicroStrategy pulling back. IV is super high. As I think as the IV starts to leak out of this thing, these things will be fine. I like MicroStrategy here. I think on today's move, unfortunately, I got in yesterday. If it had dropped this much today, I would definitely be entering today on it. I am very bullish overall on MicroStrategy. I'm very bullish on Bitcoin. It's overextended, big moves. Bitcoin's still moving up. Bitcoin's up to 98,000 now, and it's up 4% today. So it's up. It's just MicroStrategy and Coin and them. They're just pulling back because they're overextended. MicroStrategy just stupidly overextended. But I love the IV rank on it. So I'm okay owning some shares of it here. I think for the longer term, I'd like to be in this thing um, and do it. So yeah, I agree. Brian asked a question, is overstretched? Yeah, 100%. It's overstretched. So this thing's coming down today, which is exactly what it needed to do. Okay, so it needs to come down. It needs to pull back. I'm okay with it. In fact, it has to come down. It's down 56 points today to 417. It needs to come down to 200 for me. If it comes down to 200, I will be buying all kinds of shares of this thing in the hundreds, somewhere in like the 150, 160 range. I even own some at 95 here. I'm okay um, owning this thing, so I like it long term. But that's it. We're in Google. That thing's down a tad today, so we're down on a few of these. TLT, we're still nice and long on these, so I'm all good on these trades in here. We've got naked calls on all of those. Those are up 80% now in 14 days. So again, I'm okay. If we get assigned on TLT, we can generate dividends and sell covered calls, triple income. We can crank it on here. So I really like that. We've got TNA leaps here on the 3X small caps. We added an NVIDIA trade today. So this is the latest trade. And NVIDIA, here I'll group it really quick, but this is a 92 DTE naked put on NVIDIA. This is trade 0058, by the way. Okay, I would love to own NVIDIA down in this 100 range or so here. I know Igor is looking at the 130. Okay, I can make plenty of, I mean, I'm making 42% on this trade alone. I'm sorry, this trade. 42%. If it goes and expires worthless, and I'm making 61% on this NVIDIA trade here. If it's already at 91, so I could probably just close this out at 91 here. We have made on this one, we're going to make $1,300 on this trade using $2,300 in margin. So fantastic trade. We can close it probably in here at 92%, at 92. Okay, I'll put in a good till cancel. We'll just see if we get filled. All right, so if I don't get filled today, hopefully I'll get filled coming up. So we'll get out of that NVIDIA. We put a new one on. We only have a couple stocks in here. The rest of them are all IWM, SPY, TLT, and TNA and VOO. I mean, those are your main ones. We do have some TMF in here. We're writing covered calls on these. We're actually up another 400 bucks or so almost on the covered calls. We'll just keep writing covered calls or writing calls on some of these. If we get assigned anything, that's what this account is built for. We love selling naked puts, longer term, mostly leaps, but some with the intent to get assigned. And then if we get assigned, we will wheel on these. But I like wheeling what I consider to be high quality or stocks that I like the most. So that's where we are on this stuff, and we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up here with you guys. Let's see. Oh, one more question. So I got 2 minutes. Let's see if we can grab one more thing in here. See if I can find what I wanted to cover. I think this is it. Okay, so let me touch base on the small account quickly. And I want to spend more time, so I may do something. I think Igor's got tomorrow for doing a video, but I would like to get something out on the small account. We're still sitting on a bond trade in here. This thing's down just a couple $100. I'm not really worried about the bond trade. That's fine. In fact, we've got a call here that's up 55%. So we'll see if the naked call. We are doing the poor man's covered call on CMG, which has been great. We're up 67% on that covered call. I would like to have done the covered call on the Qs. And people are wondering, well, why did you sell one naked put on Qs? Because if you get assigned at 420, this thing's going to cost me about $21,000 in buying power. And this account's only around 16. This account is my kid's account. They are adding some funds to it. So they're going to be bringing it up soon a little bit. I have 7 months to deal with this trade. If for some reason we drop to 420 and we get assigned, we'll probably add funds to it if we need to. Again, I'm not recommending that you overextend if assignment is not in your wheelhouse. If not, we'll take the profit on this thing at 80, 90%, something like that, if it happens before this time. So if we can get to 80 or 90%, we'll take the profit and we'll do it again, and we'll just keep generating cash. And then this account is strictly selling just the calendarized, but we're moving slowly to the calendar trade. You can see we've got one here that's working. We're at 75% on that naked put. And then we've got another, and we're doing these in a small size. So we're doing these in a pretty small size that if we took assignment, we would be, or not taking assignment, if we took a 2x loss, it'd be pretty small for this account. And then we have another one here where the put debit spread's down here that we just put on yesterday. We sold the naked put a couple days ago. We just couldn't get filled on a put debit spread for almost a week and a half on this one. So that's the way we're running this is a little bit of the 112C, okay, and doing it in very small quantities, okay, just to generate some cash. And you can see we're up some decent cash. We're also doing the standard naked put trades in MES. We're just doing one small quantity on that. We're looking to make, 30, 40 bucks in this account on that. But really, we're moving this thing towards a little bit more of the either poor man's covered call or naked puts on indexes, as well as a few 112Cs. That's how this account is being set up. So yes, last question, any word on some of the courses? Yeah, I've got about 25 modules recorded. I have another 25 to 30 pretty much ready to be recorded. So we should have something on that, I'd say, in the next couple weeks. I'll start releasing it piece by piece. Igor and I have to work out using the other platform that we have to release some of these courses on, and Igor did a great one yesterday too. So we'll be adding a lot more course content for you guys coming out here soon, definitely before the end of the year. And I should have a bunch of stuff out by beginning of December, and by the end of the year, it'll be a pretty robust course. We're trying to keep them short. I'm trying to keep them like 15-minute videos, 5 to 10 minute videos on each, just a bunch of different courses. So it's exciting. I think it'll be great. I think you guys will get a lot out of it. Lots of different things uh, in there. Okay, I got to run for today. Hopefully, this was beneficial for you guys. Got to see all the different accounts. We put some trades on. We haven't gotten filled on anything. If it happens, great. We'll have some trades. If we don't, I'm probably not chasing many of these. I'll try again tomorrow. And if we pull back on any of these, we'll be in great shape. All right. Have a great rest of your day, folks. We'll see you guys in the Discord. Bye-bye.